months ago, we bought this house and now we're learning to renovate it with almost no experience. However, we're learning along the way and we're hoping to flip and renovate her to make some extra money. That way we can grow a real estate portfolio and hopefully start living financially free. Hi, my name is Tiffany and I began investing in real estate at 18 years old in some of the most unconventional ways possible. And now I have over 250,000 followers on TikTok that have been following this journey, and I'm hoping to share that with you guys here too. In today's video, we're going to be touring our latest remodel, going over everything that we're doing to renovate this house. Starting off with number 1 is obviously analyzing the property before you buy. Number 2 is prepping and planning for the renovation. That way you get things done efficiently without losing any money. Number 3, how do you do the work and what kind of work can actually be done? And lastly, the most important is obviously selling the house so you know how much profit you made. Alright, so the first thing is obviously analyzing the property before you buy it, because you want to make sure that you're getting a good deal. And you know what they say, you make your money when you buy the house, not when you sell it. You have to consider many things like the market shifts, type of housing that you're going to buy, how easy and likely it is to sell, and a bunch of other things. So since in today's video we're going to focus more on the house aspect of this whole thing, we're going to start off with a few things that you need to watch out for when looking at the house before buying it. So in this house in particular, we bought it off of Hubzu.com, which is like an auction site that you can bid on houses. And when we first bought this house, we were actually able to come and see it, and that is a very uncommon thing with most of these houses that you buy at auction. So it's very unusual that you're actually able to go inside and look at the house, so thankfully we were very blessed. Now obviously before buying the house, you want to make sure that it's worth it, so you do want to have sort of an idea of how much it's going to cost to remodel, to buy, to pay off all the closing costs and realtor fees, and how much you can actually sell it for once it's finished, considering the time frame that you're going to take to remodel it. So we're going to jump in right with the expensive stuff, because this is what's going to hurt your pockets the most. Number 1, we're going to look at the roof. How old is it? Is it worn out? Most of these things can affect whether or not your potential buyer can get financing for it, so it's a really important thing to look into. Number 2 is the air conditioner, because that costs about $5 grand to replace. Particularly central ACs, they can get very pricey. Next is your well and septic system, which combined in my area can cost up to $20,000 depending on what's wrong with it. Not to mention all these things that I'm talking about need to be licensed contractors that come out and do the work. If you aren't able to look at the house on the inside and see these things, you should always go and take a look through the outside and everything, basically everything that you can see from the outside, even if you have to climb on top of your car and look at the roof. Okay, next on the list, you're gonna take your laptop and we're gonna do a little bit of research. Now, one of the easiest ways to get more information on the property, just to make sure that everything is up to date, is to go look at the property appraiser. Now on here, you'll find stuff as to how old the house is, whether or not the roof has been changed legally. Just kind of have to use your investigative skills to kind of look through and see what you can deduct from all that information. And then the thing that people notice the most, and it is important, however, sometimes you can budget less money for, is obviously the cosmetic things that need fixing. Now this includes stuff like painting, flooring, cabinets, fixtures, all that stuff that you can buy at Lowe's and Home Depot. The best part about these things is that you can usually DIY them if you're willing to learn the skills, or you can contract somebody to come out and do the work. But in my opinion, if this is your first starter home, I would definitely recommend you hiring someone and watching them do the work. That way you learn for your next house. The information that you're learning is sometimes worth more than the money you're getting out of the house. Now in our house in particular, we decided to DIY the flooring, the painting, and all of the cosmetic things just because we do have a little bit of experience in carpentry, like my boyfriend in flooring, so he had changed out all the kitchen tile just because it was very small and a little bit outdated for this area here. You can refer to comps. I was on pay duty for this house, so we had bought a spray machine. It was about $400 and like 15 gallons of paint to spray paint the ceiling, the walls, just about anything that you can see in this house needed to be painted. So before we bought this house, when we were just looking at the inside, it seemed very reasonable for us to be able to flip this house just because there didn't need much hardcore construction work. It was more just cosmetic, which is something that we know how to do and we're equipped for. That's kind of how you analyze the property and just make sure that you're able to take on and not put more on your plate than what you can eat. Alright, now we're getting into the good stuff. After you bought the house, obviously we need a prep and plan for everything that needs to be done and budget for it. Now the first thing that I would do is go through the house, do a walkthrough, and take pictures of everything and start listing out everything that you need to do to the house. For me, that looks like a notes app in my phone that literally has a ton of things that needed to be done with a little checklist so I can check them off as we're going through it. Some things that I have on my list, for example, is the fact that we had to buy like new fixtures for the showers, we had to buy closet doors, basically as detailed as you can get, because once you're out shopping and looking for things, you can have this with you, and just if you find a good deal, you can just buy it. Alright, make sure you plan out what you're going to subcontract, because some of the things that you have to do during a house remodel are going to need to be licensed. Some of the things that will most likely be subcontract include the roof, septic, well, and the mechanical, which includes all of the AC work. All this stuff can add up really quickly, so you want to make sure that you're planning ahead and budgeting for all of these items. Now, once you have everything that you're going to subcontract out for other people, you want to start making a list of everyone in your area and calling them. You want to make sure that you're getting at least 3 quotes for each segment that you're doing, just because someone can give a way out of the ballpark price and you can find someone way cheaper, or they can see that you're kind of a newbie and try and take advantage of you. It's happened to me before. As you start remodeling more and more houses, you're going to have a little list of your favorites who charge you a fair price that you're always going to call, so it will get easier over time, I promise. Now, with the things that you can DIY, obviously you're saving money on labor. However, materials still cost a pretty penny. With flooring, you can either go to a wholesaler, they have some sites online, or they can be a little local. You can go to actual flooring stores and ask for leftovers that they might have, and they'll probably sell it to you at a cheaper price just to get rid of it. Now with paint, I haven't really figured out an easy way to do this. However, if you have a pro account with Sherwin-Williams, usually you can get a really good price, or you can go to the Lowe's or Home Depot clearance section and just find whatever they have on clearance there. A lot of houses might not have appliances either, or they have really crummy ones, so you want to go ahead and look on Facebook Marketplace, Nextdoor, or just online for any sales that you have going on in your area. Lastly, something that I think is a little more expensive that people don't talk about usually are cabinets. Now thankfully we had really good cabinets in our house. However, I know that they can get very expensive, so you want to be able to head to a factory outlet store where they sell them for super cheap, or if you actually have somewhat decent cabinets, you can just refinish them and repaint them. Now pro tip, make sure that you're saving all of your receipts, everyone you hire, and everything you're buying. That way at the end of the year when you sell the house and you're doing your taxes, you don't have to pay a ridiculous amount and you can deduct all of those things. And remember that time is money, and if you're borrowing money from a lender or you have a loan on the house, sometimes it's better to subcontract out the work and pay for labor rather than doing it yourself, because you're going to be saving on that time aspect and it's going to save you money in the long run. Alright, so number 3, how do you even do the work in a house remodel? Obviously you're going to subcontract the things that you can't do. That's all the stuff that I'm going to talk about you can DIY yourself if you feel comfortable with it. If you are going to hire licensed workers, definitely make sure that you're doing background checks and that they actually do have a license that's valid in your county. Okay, so the first thing that you can do is obviously watch YouTube tutorials, just like I did when I first started learning everything. There's literally endless resources, so I'm sure that you can find something that works for you. So for example, in Bluey here, I had to learn things like fixing drywall patches, especially in popcorn sealing, which is very difficult and outdated. And I also had to learn how to use a spray machine. This included me using that big old spatula that helps a lot, so you don't have to do too much prep work, but I definitely wouldn't have known about it unless I did research beforehand. Now is the exciting part. The house is all finished and it's time to sell the house. For our house Bluey, we really think it's gonna take a little bit longer to sell just because everything has kind of slowed down and there's more inventory in the market, and the interest rates are obviously absolutely insane right now. Now to set the price, obviously you're gonna look at comps in your area. This should be kind of similar to what you looked at before buying the house. Make sure you're also considering the requirements for loans like an FHA loan, a VA loan, USDA loan, conventional loan, all of the above. Like for example, here in my state, the roof has to be less than 15 years old for people to get an FHA loan. Now with the actual house, you want to make sure that the appearance of it looks nice. This might look something like a unique design, a nice little garden once you walk in the house, and always make sure to highlight those cool features in the listing. You can talk to your realtor about that. And then lastly, you're going to get in contact with your realtor to list the house. They're going to give you guys a lot more pointers on all of this because they definitely know their market better than I do. And then the last step, once you've sold the house, is to make a profit or loss sheet. Hopefully it's not a loss. And if you guys like this video, I can go ahead and make a video on how I would do that and how I would go about keeping track of all of my records. Anyways, that's everything for today's video, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe and go check out my TikTok. That way you guys can follow up with these projects on a daily basis.